Another game and another set of lineup changes. That's right, game 33 for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they head to Washington to take on the Washington Capitals to start off a road trip. And the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup has changed yet again. At this point, it shouldn't even come as a surprise to anybody that Craig Berube is going to shuffle and shake things up and put new guys with new people on new lines and new matchups and new combinations, because that's what he does every day, every practice, every morning skate, every warm-up. I don't even know what's real and what's not. I don't know what smoke screens and what's actually going to happen here tonight in this game, but I'm Zack Phillips. This game preview is a presentation of Bet365, and today we're going to break down these lines for tonight's game against the Washington Capitals, thanks to our friends at Daily Faceoff. So jumping on over right now, let's get into it. For what we've got for tonight's game, starting first and foremost with your first line that stays together here. Again, I've talked about this over the last little while, so I'm not going to dig into it too much. Just more so going to kind of bring it back up and reiterate. I'm not in love with the idea of lining these guys up together. I think Matthews, you want to drive the play and be the shooter. I think Nylander, you also want to drive the play and be the shooter. I think they're good to go together when you need a late game push or need a goal or whatever in a third period, or if things have actually completely gone to shit. Then you kind of look around and say hey, let's try this. Let's put them together. I'm not in love with the idea of them starting. No more on that line combination. I beat it to death. I'm just going to leave it at that. The only thing I'll say is all three of these guys have to be better. Nylander has not scored in his last 8 games. He's got 3 goals in his last 15. It's not been a good stretch for him. Austin Matthews is still finding ways to get the puck in the back of the net, which is a positive, I guess. And, when you look at him as the team leader in goals, those are things to be happy about and to take away from. But the downside of it, or the negative side of it all, is that it's not really felt like he's been driving play. And these goals have come from him capitalizing on opportunities that have come up, or good plays by other people where he's found a way to get the puck in the back of the net. It's never really felt like this was a vintage Austin Matthews, put the team on your back, take over shift. And in the ones that have kind of resembled that, like the tying goal, for example, the other day against Chicago on Tuesday in the third period on that power play, where he comes out from down low, makes a move towards the front of the net, and as he steps out, he goes short side upstairs. That looked a little bit more like vintage Austin Matthews. It's like a one-off. It's a one and done. So it's got to be more sustained than what he's been doing right now, because he looked good, but he doesn't look great. And when he does look great, it's like a shift here or there. It's not a full game. So I want more from him. And Matthew Knies probably struggling because the other guy's struggling as well, but he's looked just not quite like himself. I don't know if I want to throw the whole he's injured concept out there for every guy who's playing. Nylander, we gave him the excuse of being sick. Matthews, we're talking about, is he injured and has something long term? Now we're going to throw this on Knies and say, could he be injured too? It's entirely possible, but I mean, at what point are just all these guys injured and dealing with something? Knies, it's not like he's playing poorly, I wouldn't say. It just feels like he doesn't have that extra edge, that oomph in his game that we're used to, where he can kind of really take over throughout the course of a game. You see it again, similar to Matthews, where a shift here or there looks really good. But for the most part, it's not been this sustained amount of pressure from Matthew Knies from start to finish. I mean, I'm not going to harp on the kid. I love what he brings to the table, and I think he's a really, really important piece of this team. But if we're calling it for what it is, I think he's just had a good season, not a great season to this point, and I think he's got an extra gear to get to. Your second line for tonight: Nick Robertson, John Tavares, Easton Cowan. So here's your first change. I said I didn't like the switch up of Bobby McMann coming off the third line, and going to the second line, and then Easton Cowan on your fourth line and Max Domi on your third line. I did not like that. This is much more closely aligned with what I said the other day. If you are going to load up that first line, how you should lay out the rest of the lines. So Nick Robertson, JT, and Easton Cowan. You're going to need the guys on the ice to be acutely aware of that second line being out there together, because JT just doesn't have the fastest boots, and then Cowan and Robertson aren't like the greatest defensive players that you could put on the ice at any given moment. They're not bad, and Robertson's defensive game has really evolved, really progressed. Easton Cowan, you're seeing is learning, but again, a young guy in Easton Cowan and a guy in Nick Robertson who, through the beginning of his career here in Toronto, did struggle defensively, starting to piece things together now. You're going to want to make sure that the defense are aware of that and Craig Berube is deploying them correctly. But on the offensive side, I think this is a line that can create some buzz. You know, you want to talk about moving your feet, quickness, getting in hard on the forecheck. This is a line that can do it between Cowan and Robertson. And then JT can kind of be the mature piece who can win board battles. He's a good playmaker. He's a guy who can facilitate from below the goal line. He's also just a responsible guy in terms of making sure he's never getting caught out of position. Although he isn't the most fleet of foot, he's a guy who is pretty responsible in his defensive zone, so he can kind of level that out. He's also just an older guy who's been there, done that. He's seen it. He can help educate these guys and kind of continue to develop them as players. So I don't mind that line. Not like in love with it, but don't mind it. Down to your second line, Dakota Joshua, Nick Waugh, Bobby McMann. This is the line I think needs to stay together. It pissed me off the other day seeing that Craig Berube had switched these guys up. And Rosie and I talked about it. We talked about it on post games. I talked about it with Alberga. We talked about it on Morning Take. Like, we've gone over this a million times. Sometimes just letting these guys play things through, I think, is worthwhile. Sure, maybe you want to move star guys around and you want to put Nylander up there to get him going, or move Easton Cowan to a different line to wake him up. But like a line like that third line that has a very clear identity, it's going to be a hard forechecking line. It's going to be a line who can cycle the puck well. They can play the north-south style that Berube wants. They can be responsible defensively. They can hit. They can be physical. Like, they can play all those aspects of the game. If they don't score, who cares, right? As long as they're doing the other aspects of the game. If they're not doing the other areas of the game that I just outlined, then yeah, sure, break it up, because then you have a problem. But their goal and their objective on the ice is not to score every shift, to score every game. They're a third line that is your checking line. Let them be a checking line. Some nights they won't score, but some nights they're going to go in and hem the other team into the opposing zone, because they're going to break it out. They're going to get cross center. They're going to chip it in. They're going to forecheck. They're going to pin the other team in the offensive zone. They're going to cycle the puck. They're going to keep them out there for 45 seconds, 60 seconds. They're going to force the other team to ice the puck. And then you bring out Austin Matthews. Like, that's good hockey. That's a good way to approach the game. Now, all of a sudden, you take Bobby McMann off. You put him on your second line. You weaken the offensive ability of your second line. And then you put Max Domi on the third line. And unfortunately, right now, Max Domi's being like a little bit of this black hole on any line he's gone on. Not in the same way David Kampf was, where he sucks away offense, but like, it's just been this bit of negativity where criticism from the fan base is creeping in. Criticism of Craig Berube for the decisions and the deployment of Max Domi creeps in there as well. And then I think Max is gripping his stick a little bit too tight. So like, that playmaking ability he has and he's supposed to be able to implement onto any of the lines he goes to kind of gets handcuffed a little bit. Like, and not by Berube saying don't do this, don't do that, but by his own abilities and his own approach to the game, it feels like. I mean, I am speaking for him, but it's just looking at the decisions that are being made, they feel forced sometimes. Looking at the turnovers that happen, they seem like plays Max Domi would traditionally not make, and he is making those mistakes right now. And I think some of that came from, just trying too hard in certain areas. And it's kind of a funny concept, because we look at this team and say some of them don't try. He's certainly not a guy I will ever point a finger at and say you're not trying. Bobby McMann back to the third line. Good decision by Berube and co. Fourth line. Interested to see how this works tonight, but Steven Lorentz, Scott Laughton, Max Domi is your fourth line. Another identity line here, essentially, and another line that can produce some offense, but if I were to deem this line as an identity or having an identity and try to kind of title what that identity would be, I'm going to call this like the chaos line. between Max Domi and being a little bit of a water bug out there, physical, get in your face, Scott Laughton never giving up on plays, playing physical as well, Steven Lorentz's ability to be a hard-hitting guy or a guy not to shy away from stuff, their ability to be impactful on the forecheck. Then you look at between Laughton and Domi, not so much Lorentz, but Laughton and Domi, both guys that can create offense, both guys that can produce offense. When you have those two guys out there, there's an opportunity here for your fourth line to take advantage of another fourth line from an offensive side of things. I don't know how this works out defensively. We'll see here tonight. Again, I don't love Domi defensively. Lorentz, for the most part, I feel pretty trustworthy in. I feel he's pretty trustworthy, sorry. Scott Laughton, I feel like he's pretty trustworthy. So we'll see how this shakes out. But I kind of like these constructions other than Nylander on line one. And if you're going to ask me what I would do to change it, it's not a long-term solution because I think you need a guy in for this guy, which sounds a little bit dumb, but I think you'd go Nylander, Nylander, second line right wing, Cowan, second line left wing, Nick Robertson, first line right wing. I think that's where you slide these guys. You go one down with Nylander and then across for Cowan and then up and to the right for Nick Robertson. Long term, you want to replace Nick Robertson on that top line. You'd rather have another top six player. You know, you name your JJ Peterka they tried to get in the summer. Alex Tuck. I don't know who the guy is outside of those guys who would come in here necessarily and fit that role that they're looking for, but that's the kind of piece I might be trying to acquire, or you would probably have been trying to acquire, Obviously, Peterka gone to Utah now, but you'd probably be looking at to fill that. But I think in the short term, the thing that gives you the most balance in your lineup would be Nylander line 2, Robertson moving up to line 1, and Cowan staying as your second line left winger. I think that evens things out, right now. Obviously not what they're going to go with, and they're trying to get Matthews sustaining intensity, sustaining pressure for 60, and then you're trying to get William Nylander out of this funk. So that's why they've kept these guys together here tonight. Your defensive pairings for tonight's game. Another change, because why wouldn't we change things? Simon Benoit no longer with Morgan Rielly. Obviously, we talked about that before last game. It happened in morning skate. It happened in the practice the day before, and I looked at Daily Faceoff when I did the game preview the other day, and I went, oh my God, this is a mistake. They changed it during the game. OEL, Morgan Rielly go together. Stetcher, McCabe go together. Thrun and Benoit go together. I think that's probably the best way to deploy these guys. I could talk about Rielly, I could talk about Benoit all we want, but like, what is it going to do for us here now? The only thing I'll say, Simon Benoit, he's got to level out a little bit here. I like what he brings to the table. I like the energy, the intensity he plays with. I like the physicality. I like the fact that he jumps in the offense. But there's sometimes where I look around and it's like Simon Benoit on his own zone has a little bit of Scrabble face going on where he's kind of like, where the hell is my guy? Where am I supposed to be? And then next thing you know, it's like, you're getting the goal horn, red lights, and you're hearing celebrations going on in an arena, and the other team has their sticks above their head, and it's not Simon Benoit who's celebrating. So I just want him to calm things down a little bit because we saw him last year in the playoffs. Really effective, really impactful player. Not necessarily the case so far consistently, I should say, at least this season. He's had games, he's had moments, he's had some shifts here, but like, hasn't been held over sustained amount. First unit staying together unbelievably. Matthew Knies, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, Morgan Rielly, William Nylander. It's not the forwards I have any frustration with. Morgan Rielly being back there, I still cannot comprehend. I would rather have OEL, but it's Morgan Rielly who remains power play quarterback for the first unit. And let's call it what it is. This power play fucking sucks. They suck. They are predictable. They're slow. They lose momentum. They give up opportunities. It's not pretty. There's not much that I like about the power play. There's times where they have like a 30-second spurt, and it's like, yep, that looked really good. Outside of that, not much that they've been able to sustain and enjoy. Frustrating. And I wonder at this point, at what point you kind of look at Mark Savard and say, hey, guy, you're the problem. Or, hey, guy, you're no longer going to run this unit. Goaltenders tonight. I know a lot of people, myself included, to be honest with you, thought Joseph Woll was going to be the guy to play tonight. He's not. Joseph Woll will not play. Dennis Hildebey gets the net back here tonight. Logan Thompson will be the goaltender for the Washington Capitals on the other side. So tough matchup for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight from a goalie perspective as well. The Washington Capitals coming off 2 games here where the result has not gone the way they would have liked. Probably going to come into this one here against Toronto tonight. Looking to get, I don't want to say revenge, but like get things back on track for themselves. It's not a revenge against the Maple Leafs. It's like revenge against the NHL for how things have gone for them over the last little while. Tonight feels like a get-right spot for the Washington Capitals, or a night that they're going to be looking at as a get-right spot. You know, like Capitals Nation breaking down game preview is talking about get right against the Maple Leafs tonight. And Logan Thompson, the guy who's probably starting for Team Canada, will be the goaltender to lead the charge in that. Dennis Hildebey on the other side for the Leafs has been very, very, very good this season. So hopefully he can continue that tonight. With that, let's get to our best bet segment. Our best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION, that's NATION, code NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. Tonight we got 2 best bets. We lost the best bet the other day, unfortunately. That brings our total on the year to down 5.9 units. It's been a struggle this year, but we got 2. One of them is a bet that I've never tried before, and we're going to try for the first time tonight. But before we go to that, just quickly looking at sides and totals in this one. Leafs plus 130, Capitals minus 155. Honestly, I think that's pretty fair. Cap should be favored. Looking for a get-right spot at home. Leafs did not play very well on Tuesday night. They did get a win, but it was not a pretty game by any stretch. The only way to be positive about it is like, well, they won. Other than that, nothing was really pretty about that game. Total of 6 in this one, minus 115 to the under, minus 105 to the over for the Leafs Caps game. And then going to the player props section for tonight. This is where we're going to find our first bet. We're going a half unit on William Nylander anytime goal plus 210. I said it already. Hasn't scored in his last 8 games. He's got 3 in his last 15. He knows he's got to get this right. He knows he's got to get back on track. Like, this feels like a William Nylander get-right spot if there's one for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm going to go with William Nylander anytime. The other one, this is a new market that I'm going to try tonight. We're going to go all the way here to the bottom on the Bet365 page. We're going blocked shots. Blocked shots for tonight's game. And we're going to go Jake McCabe 3+ blocked shots. Plus 120, Jake McCabe 3+ blocked shots. So, reasoning behind this is rather simple, to be honest with you. McCabe, tendency to block a lot of pills, will play penalty kill, will play late game situations if leading, will play late game in a tie game, all that kind of stuff. Like, he will get ice time here tonight, especially with Stetcher. He's also a guy who is willing to put his body on the line. And then you want to actually just go to like the other side of things. I think he's going to play a lot of minutes tonight against Washington. I think he's going to get a lot of the difficult matchups from what the Caps can provide tonight. And I think the Capitals are going to shoot the puck a lot. They're going to look across and see Dennis Hildebey, who's not your number 1 goaltender. Call it what it is. He's not. I think he's been really, really good, but he's not your number 1 guy. And I think that they're going to be willing to shoot the puck tonight because they're coming back from this little stretch that they've had of not the best hockey, and they're going to be wanting to get things right themselves. And part of that is going to come with having some intensity and shooting the puck a lot. I think Jake McCabe is going to have to eat pills. And I think that's going to leave us in a good opportunity to cash the over 2.5 block shots or 3+ block shots for Jake McCabe. So our 2 best bets, Nylander, half unit, $50 at plus 210 anytime will profit you 105. Jake McCabe, half unit at plus 120 will profit you $60 here tonight. Those are your 2 best bets for tonight's game. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything on the Leafs Nation 401 YouTube channel right here, whether it is Leafs Morning Take, where the boys had on Bruce Boudreau today, TJ Oshie yesterday, breaking down everything happening across Leafs Nation, whether it's breaking news, live updates, instant reactions, Morning Take, After Dark, game previews, best bets, all of that and more is happening here on this channel. So like and subscribe. As well, a quick note. If you enjoyed this video, you should like the stream, you should subscribe, but you should also drop a comment down below. And I don't want you to just say, hey, I like this. I want to hear what you think about tonight's game. Are the Leafs going to win this one? Are they losing this one? What's the final score? What's your best bet? Do you like my best bets? Is the Jake McCabe blocked shots a nuts bet? What do you think about all of it? I'm looking forward to hearing about it. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back here following tonight's game against the Caps for another edition of Leafs Nation After Dark. Thanks for watching. See you guys tonight. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.